Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey. It is time
Hello,
for cash flow conversations.
cash
Cash
flow
flow
conversation.
cash flow conversations. Cash flow conversation is for anyone over the age of 18, single, married. Look, I'm not even finna front. Why am I trying to read this without my glasses? Ah, now I feel intelligent. Cash flow conversations is for anyone over the age of 18, single, married, parents, children, no children, homeowners, renters, whether you get a 1099 or a W 2. If you desire multiple streams of income, you love to travel, and you like helping others, then we have a way for you to do all of that without it interfering with what you're already doing. This business was built for the busy people, busy people. I will prove it with some amazing guests from my network who make it happen for themselves every single day. My name is Christine Jackson, and welcome to Cash Flow Conversation. I want to start by introducing you to my co-host with the most. Go ahead and let the people know who you are, where you're from, what you do for a living, and how did you get started on your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, wow, that's a lot. My name is Richard Wilson III. Say welcome everyone to Cash Flow Conversations. My 9 to 5, I am a retail sales supervisor for the Georgia World Congress Center, um, and I'll just kind of capsulize that. I handle alcohol sales and retail sales for the venue during conventions, expositions, meetings, etc. Uh, Kind of roll forward into my entrepreneurial experience. It started when years ago in the mortgage industry, probably even before that, uh, in college, just working with my aunt, uh, uh, doing, helping her with some of her Mary Kay sales. Uh, that led, one thing led to another. The mortgage business for 19 years, helping people find um, suitable funding for their investment in the mortgage industry. And from there, I worked until the crash in 2009 and kind of turned over. After that, there was a lot of things happening. I had my own office as a net branch, uh, still assisting people and exactly hiring loan officers at that time for the last 6 of those 9 years. But always been in front of people, always helping in that capacity or in that capacity of service. And then fast forward into I have a Melaleuca establishment as well as a travel establishment with Planet Marketing, uh, which is where now I currently reside, or we currently reside, and moving forward from there. Still assisting people, still providing service.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Very, very, very nice. Very nice. And I see we have a guest on the line today. How are you doing this evening, my good fellow?
Hey, best of my life every day. How you doing, young lady? I believe it's
I'm
Christine.
doing.
Am I not correct?
It is Christine. And who are you?
My name is Wilson Flemister. My company is Prime Time Capital Ventures, and what I do on a daily basis is just simply solve people's money problems.
Okay. You're in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Prime Time Capital Ventures. Is that right? Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it right. Prime Time Capital Ventures, LLC, to be specific. But that's
I
me.
like the way that sounds. Prime Time Capital Ventures. Let's get into this money making conversation. So, where are you from, William? And how did you get started with Prime Time?
Um, I'm born and raised in Atlanta. It's Wilson, by the way, and actually, I've been a real estate entrepreneur for about 8 or 9 years. And when I was in the real estate space, I was holding wholesaling houses, and I just figured if I was going to take them a deal, I may as well take them the money too. So I got into the lending space, and I started out on the hard money side, and I was introduced to a phenomenal product. We call it flex funding that can fund anything in the category, no matter what it is. And I started that about a year and a half ago, and we serve a lot of people. The kind of funding I get them access to, they don't have to have anything that they own use for collateral. We don't require down payment. We don't require any liens on any property. We don't do any appraisals. Any appraisals with us, they don't even need a business plan. If they got goals and dreams, if they got hopes and aspirations, we can fund it no matter what it is, and we can get them from $10,000 to $500,000. Have them approved in 24 to 48 hours. Have them funded in 1 to 3 business days. We've been at this for about 15 years, and the thing about it is unique is we can fund anything. Last year, we loaned out $18 billion, helped a lot of people. We funded cannabis, we funded trucking, we funded people in arts and entertainment, we funded a ton of real estate investors. If you get a category, if you got a category, I can fund it no matter what it is. And our goal is to, help make people's lives better, solve their money problems. When people come to us a lot of times, especially with their new people, they don't have any revenue showing anything like that. None of that matters with us. We have 520 capital sources, major banks, major credit unions, and private money lenders. A lot of well-heeled investors. Everybody's FDIC insured, so we don't have to turn anybody away. What's unique about how we do what we do is we shout the information up front on the qualification side, and when they don't qualify, we have a system to get them qualified as well. So we cover everything. We don't have to turn
Okay.
anybody away.
All right. Now, wait. That was a lot of information, and a lot of great information, and it caused a lot of great thoughts to go through my head. The first thing, of course, you know how we are. First thing I thought of was, how can I get some of this money? Right?
We can talk about it. We can talk about it. Absolutely. We can talk about it. Yes, yes.
Like, Richard, what you doing?
Yes.
I just raised my hand 5 times.
Okay. Right. Because that was the first thing. You said any category. I'm like, okay, I got a category. Okay, qualifications. Okay, I got some qualifications. And then you said, even if I don't, you can help me get qualified.
Absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood. Go ahead, Richard, with your five, raising your hand 5 times.
Well, I was agreeing with you and saying that, yeah, categories are popping up in my head right now.
Awesome and
So
amazing.
awesome.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you for joining us. It's good to have you.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here. I was telling Richard earlier, I don't know if I'll be able to stay for the whole time because I got another event as well, but I just wanted to, he and I have known each other for a long time. I know he's a good brother. We actually grew up together here in the A-Town and known him for a long time. I know he's a good brother. When he asked me to come, I was just glad I was able to, get it in. I just don't know how long I'm going to be able to be here.
Okay, so
About
let's
another, I
do
guess,
this.
maybe 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay, well, let's do this before you leave. That way we have it out of the way. I'm going to put your information in the chat, in the text box, so that anybody that watches this can find you. Give me your
Okay.
name again. Wilson.
Yeah. First name is Wilson,
Uh
Wilson.
huh.
Last name is Flemister. F is in Frank. Lemister. I'm a junior. My company is Prime
ISTER.
Time. Mhm.
Okay. And your company is Prime Time
Prime Time Capital Ventures
Capital
LLC.
Ventures
Ventures LLC.
LLC. Okay. What's the
Contact number.
hold on 1 second. I hit the wrong button. I almost put us on, I almost turned us off. Okay. I want to make sure I got that part right. Can you see that? Everything correct on there?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, everything
You
correct
got
on
it.
there. And the best
That's
contact
it.
for you.
404 839. I'm sorry. 404 863 7096.
Okay, 404-863-7096. Any social media platforms?
Yes, I'm on They can find me on Facebook at myflexfunding.com. Or they can just look me up as Wilson Flemister as well. And I'm on Instagram at the Five Talent Man.
The at the
Five Talent Man.
number 5 or the word 5?
Number 5.
Number 5, TAL talent.
Yeah, TALENT, man, MAN.
MAN. All right, we got everything. Make sure we got it all. We got the contact information. All right. And then where's the Instagram one go? Oh, there it is. Then we got the Instagram. All right. So now, so one of the reasons that we do this show, Wilson, is we want to talk about our entrepreneurial journeys, right? And what it is that we do, put a spotlight on our companies. And we definitely have to have you back when you have more time. But we also want to leave words of wisdom to those entrepreneurs coming behind us. Tell me how important is entrepreneurship for you? Like you don't work a 9 to 5, you don't work for anybody else. Why is that? Why did you choose to become an entrepreneur?
Well, I actually spent 30 years in sales at Frito Lay, and I retired from there. And one of the things, when you think about the way we were all taught, we were taught to go to school, get a good education, so we get done, we can get a good job,
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I've learned is, profit is always better than wages.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, I like that.
And when you think about how school is structured, you get used to going to school for doing an 8-hour day. You know what I'm saying? When that bell rings, you know what I'm saying? You got to be in class, and work is the same way. 40-hour work week, you know what I'm saying? We all program like that. And when you go into entrepreneurship, it's not that you're gonna work less harder than working for somebody else, but you're building something for yourself, and you're creating a legacy for your family. Getting to understand things like getting yourself to a point in life where the assets that you create and obtain over time pay for how you live instead of having a paycheck pay for it.
Exactly.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. I do.
And we weren't taught that kind of stuff. We weren't taught things like pay yourself first. You know what I mean? We weren't taught things like make sure that you're teaching your kids about budgeting and making good decisions. And understanding that they all have gifts and talents. And going to school. It's really not for everybody to get a degree. And I think I read somewhere that about 80% and 90% of the people are working, they got degrees on working in degrees that they got them in. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So entrepreneurship, it isn't less work. It's just as much work, not even more. It takes tremendous sacrifice, tremendous focus. You got to keep distractions out of your life. You got to keep the noise out of your life. You got to keep the dream killers and dream stealers out of your life. You got to be sure that the 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 seeds that God dropping you for what He wants you to do, you have to be mindful of who you're talking to about it. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody ain't on your side. You know what I'm saying? And He'll send you the ones that you need to hear from. But as long as you're in alignment with Him, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna be all right.
Absolutely. So you decided to take your entrepreneurial journey because you weren't taught the things that you just spoke about and you wanted to teach them to others.
Yeah, absolutely. And get them to understand how powerful it is. And I told my children, my generation is the last generation from a working perspective that will see a pension plan. They're gonna have to create their own.
Mm-hmm.
And we are in this day and time, I think one of the things that you have to get good at is mastering the art of making money. And there's a lot of ways to make money.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And working a job, all you doing, you trading time for money. You're not making money. You're trading time for money. When you're making money, you creating it. You understand? God, when He created us all, we're all creators. You know what I'm saying? But because of the way we were programmed growing up in our generation, we weren't. That was kind of uh, nobody stirred that pot. Nobody taught us like that. There were some among us, we just didn't know who they were.
Mm-hmm.
We just always wondered how they did what they did.
Mm-hmm.
I think about guys like Herman Russell. Who built what he did from scratch, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, you know what I'm saying. I think about one of my mentors. We call her the Wealth Goat. She built her business from the ground up because she's a creator, and we all are creators. But most of us didn't realize that's what we were. Because we got blindsided by traditional norms. Go to school, get a good job. Clock in, clock out. You know what I'm saying? But if you go back, two or three generations, our great grandparents, they knew how to make money
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? That makes sense.
it does. It makes sense. And I agree with you on that. We have to normalize having money making conversations. We have to normalize um, teaching our children and our next generation what it means to know how to make money. People go into business, the purpose of going into the business is to make a profit. And
Right.
if you are not making a profit, something is wrong. I'm gonna throw it to you, Richard, to see if you have any questions. But how much longer do we have, Mr. Wilson?
Uh, we've got about 15 minutes or so.
About more 15 more minutes. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
I'm gonna come back around, and I want to make sure we give you the last word before you leave. But I'm gonna see if Richard has anything to say because I could talk to you all day.
Well, as we talk, Christine, our questions seem to rub off on each other. Um, but what got you? Well, Wilson, I really know much of your background because, like as you said, we grew up together. We came in that same vein. Uh,
Right.
uh, going to school, getting a good education, and falling into a good job. Uh,
Right.
and you and I got caught somewhere in that in that chasm of saying, "Hey, be an entrepreneur," or go after what was considered unsafe commission money, or
Right.
going after the 1099. All right, most
Right.
people didn't when we were coming out. 1099, what's that? It you know,
Absolutely.
uh, and we had to be orientated into that. And
Right.
uh, seeing it now, you're right. We weren't taught to be creators. We had to develop in ourselves, even stepping out on that seed of faith, um, to become what we already are. And you're right, we are creators. Um,
Absolutely.
Christine, you've asked pretty much the questions that are there that Wilson has answered to our guests. That
Okay.
you have to identify yourself, and where we fall in is that we continue to develop our mindset and and grow and develop into that creator. Um, as we call it in our business, our kings and queens, um, because we not only do business in the travel space, but we also work on your mindset and develop the mindset because in that we become creators as well. Um,
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. That mindset is a powerful thing. You know, the Bible says, as a man thinking in his heart, so is he. You know what I'm saying? And if you are not cognizant of what's going through your mind on a daily basis, and keeping yourself focused and away from things that take you away from, distractions are really, really, can come in the back door. You don't even realize that it's a distraction. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? And because it's dressed up in something that you like, but if it's taking you off the mission, you understand, no matter how good it sounds, or whatever, if it's taking you off of your mission, then it's a distraction. Anything that's keeping you from going down the golden path to success, and it could be things that you never would never even consider. But when you take a step back, you know what I'm saying? It's like, for example, you got a project to do, Richard,
Mhm.
and then one of your buddies come by and say, hey, man, let's go play some golf. You know what I'm saying? Well, see, that sounds good. You know what I'm saying? He don't mean you no harm, but is that going, how is that going to help you do the mission you got to get
Get done.
done? And,
Exactly.
and you, as you grow, you learn things about yourself, because when I was at Morehouse, what most people didn't realize about me, that I always loved business.
Hmm.
I always loved business. Everybody knew me from the music side. I was blessed to go to Morehouse on a full uh, talent grant, music scholarship. But when I was around my mentor, the late great Wendell Whalum, you know, um, and there was a newspaper around, I always picked the business section up first.
Hmm.
And I remember my wife saying to me, she said, she said, most guys pick up the sports page. I said, yeah. I said, but I have always had a fascination with business, how things work, how the economy shook and moved. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And while I was in college, I was blessed to work for an extraordinary entrepreneur, a guy by the name of Russ McCall, who started a company here in Atlanta called Atlanta Wholesale Foods. Went from that to Atlanta Foods International, now to Gourmet Foods International, and he's nationwide.
Hmm.
But I remember we were in a little bitty small building, you know. So I was always fascinated by business. So, and my mom was an extraordinary entrepreneur.
Yes.
She was, she did Mary Kay,
Yeah.
like him, and my mom had a in-home daycare. She built from the ground up, and so successful at it, she had enough clientele to send to somebody else for them to start them one. So I've been around entrepreneurship, all my life, but never really had anybody to nudge me. But I was always fascinated by it,
That's
and I
awesome.
just knew, that I just knew it was something missing, So so it's like I've been kind of catching up. You know what I'm saying? I met some extraordinary individuals um, along the way. An extraordinary mentor that I have now built her $1 billion brokerage from the ground up from scratch, and I love that. You know what I'm saying?
So
Um,
I keep hearing you say the word mentor, and Richard left off with mindset, and we talked about personal development and growing up with entrepreneurs around you. What would you say to that young person coming up behind you that wants that has some type of level of interest? Maybe they like you, maybe they also pick up and gravitate towards the business section of the newspaper first. Maybe they do see some entrepreneurship going on around them, but they just don't know where to start. Give some words of wisdom to a young person that's coming up that has a mind for business or thinks that they have a mind for business, but they didn't see entrepreneurs growing up. All they see is, the basketball players, the rappers, and they don't have that talent or they don't have that desire to go that route. They are interested in business, but they don't know where to start. What would you say to someone like that?
I say ask questions. You know, grab it, read. One of the things I say is read as much as you can. About what it is that you got an interest in.
Mm-hmm.
We got audio books now. You have the internet. You know what I'm saying? In our era, we didn't have the internet. You know what I'm saying? My mom used to talk about reading all the time when I was growing up. She talked about how much she read, and reading is a powerful thing. Where you're dealing with mindset, learning how to learn, do something new. Now we got YouTube University. We got so many different things that are available. These things right here we call cell phones. There's actually a handheld computer that we can talk to. That's all it is. But we have a vast array of knowledge available through this one instrument alone. So master the art of whatever field that you have. And I think if you got children, watch what they gravitate to.
That's
You know what I'm
good. That's
saying? Watch
good.
what they gravitate
That's
to.
good.
You know what I'm saying? And nudge me in that direction. I think sometimes, when I was growing up, I was smaller. Music was my gift. I can remember sitting at the piano before my feet could reach the pedals, but I could play it. You know, my dad was a uh, uh, when he graduated from Turner High School here in Atlanta in 1950. He had a full music scholarship to the Juilliard School.
Mm.
Um, he just decided to stay here. And I asked him, I said, why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? And he would always laugh about it. But that was a gift that I had. I could play the piano. I really love playing drums, but they couldn't handle that, man. There was just too much noise, they said, you know. Um, but I was never really nudged that way. I did it on my own. I sang with these guys in high school. Uh, Actually had the opportunity when I finished Morehouse with the guys I grew up singing with. You know, we actually had a recording contract um, off with Capitol Records, but that was because that's the kind of interest that I had. And what I'm saying is, when you got children that have interest in stuff that people don't see on TV every day, you understand what I'm saying? You may have a child that's a tinkerer, is always taking stuff apart and putting it back together.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? That's an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a creator to the core. That's an inventor. You know what I'm saying? So putting them in spaces that allows that seed to be fed, if that makes
It
sense.
makes
You
sense. It
understand
makes
what I mean?
perfect
Makes
sense. So
definite
let's,
sense.
yeah, I want to
Makes
go back to
definite sense.
your, yeah, I want to go back to your time at Frito Lay. So it's safe to say you were successful when you were at Frito Lay. So how did you transfer that energy and those skill sets that helped you be successful at Frito Lay and whatever else you need to be successful in your industry, as far as funding? How did you transfer, or did you transfer any skills from your time at Frito Lay, or did you just learn a whole new set of
Oh yeah.
skills?
Oh yeah. You have to be, if Frito Lay, we had to be we were results driven. We had to be organized. They have an extraordinary DSD system, was called directed store delivery. That's what it was called at the time. And Frito Lay is the number one snack food company on the planet. They were good at putting systems together. They were good at making adjustments. That's why they've always been so consistent and so strong for so long. They always knew how to make adjustments when time comes to make the adjustments. And just one of the things about business that you have to learn. Think about it. When we were growing up here in Atlanta, everybody at Christmas time shopped at Sears. Nobody knows who Sears is now.
Right.
They shopped at Kmart. You know what I'm saying?
Riches either.
At that time, A&P Supermarket was the largest supermarket in the world. They don't even exist
It doesn't
anymore.
exist.
And I was like, what did they miss? It wasn't a lack of resources, because they had the resources. You understand what I'm saying? So what I realized being a Frito Lay, that I have to always be like water. Water adjusts wherever it goes.
Hmm. Come on, Bruce Lee.
And
Mhm.
and and
Mhm.
and 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 in business and in life as well, you have to be the same way. You have to be willing to adjust. You have to be mindful of the people you're around. You know what I'm saying? Because if they don't see what you see, you can be kind and encouraged, but they ain't walking the same path you walking. You know what I mean? And if it ain't the type of energy that you want, then you have to keep it moving, because it ain't good for you. You know what I'm saying? I learned, I dealt with people from all over the world, learned about different cultures, and began to respect, how other people thought. Y'all be surprised how things in other countries, how people think about things and what they do, but it works for their culture. So I kind of brought all of that kind of stuff when I started on this entrepreneurial journey. You know what I'm saying? I'm still learning. I've been learning for as long as I walk this planet. And one of the things that we all have to think about and make the decision is, if you're going to keep growing, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Well,
You have to get you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because if you in a group and you're the smartest person in that group, you need to change the group, because you ain't gonna grow.
Hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? It's like the Bible says, you can't put new wine in old wine
That's
skin.
right. That bus open.
Same thing. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're rounding up to the time
much
that you
time.
said you had to keep that had to go, and I want to honor that time. Any last words you have for our entrepreneurs who are watching, up and coming entrepreneurs, currently entrepreneurs? Anything that you want to share from your heart, and then also I'm going to open an invitation to you to come back so you can hear a little bit more about our business and what we do, and then we can continue this conversation. I have Richard send you a calendar link, and you can schedule it for yourself, That way you know that you're available for that particular day and time.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right.
sounds like a plan.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
what I say is you gotta be in alignment. You gotta be focused. I'm a spiritual person. Me and God talk every day, throughout the day, and you gotta be properly aligned so you don't miss nothing. And even that, you're a human being, so you're gonna have them challenges. You understand what I'm saying? But you got to be mindful of the energy around you. You got to be mindful of the people around you, and you got to keep your focus. You got to know how important it is to walk out the vision and the dream that He's giving you, because you're here for a reason. You know, and something my mentor said. You know, we have to learn to live in the unseen part of ourselves as more so than the seen part,
Mm.
because the unseen is the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? That's where the creative part lives. You understand? And that's where you see things how you want to see things and how God wants you to see things. But from an everyday perspective, when you look at it from an everyday physical perspective, it ain't like it's not like you want what you want to see. So what you tell yourself, that ain't true. That ain't what this is. What I see and what I want is in my mind. And when you lock and load on that, it's just a matter of time. It's going to manifest. So I say to anybody, always keep God in the center. Keep yourself focused on what you're doing. Make sure you are mindful of the kind of stuff that you feed your mind and your spirit. That's important. You know what I'm saying? Be wary of the distractions, especially the ones that always look good to you. My grandmama used to say when I was in school, everything glitters ain't gold and everything shine ain't diamond.
That's right.
Everything looks good to you ain't good for
That's
you. You know
right.
what I'm
That's
saying?
right. All right, Mr. Flemister. I look
All
forward to
right.
talking to you again. Thank you so
But I
much for
appreciate y'all
coming.
having me.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys
Thank
having
you
Have a
me.
so
Y'all
much.
great
have a blessed
evening.
evening.
Thank you so much,
Okay. All
Wilson.
right. All right.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Awesome.
That
Yes.
was
Awesome.
amazing. So, how did you
Yeah.
guys meet, Richard?
We've known each other since elementary school.
Hmm.
We were we were in scouting together. Uh,
Okay.
we started out as Cub Scouts. Our mothers were den mothers. Um, uh, we grew up in scouting, uh, and at that time, uh, elementary school was from kindergarten to the seventh grade. There
Okay.
was no there was no middle school. There was no middle school at all.
All right. You're going to
So
get kicked out the studio.
yeah, uh, you went from when you hit seventh grade, you went to eighth grade. You were in high school. You
Right.
had you had that paradigm shift um, into adolescence and young adulthood. You know, that's how we as baby boomers were formed. Okay,
Exactly. Exactly. So,
we
yeah,
we we
we,
were we were out there. All right, we were out there, and some part of it could be considered wilderness, but then other parts could be considered a growing ground. Uh, and it was about exposure. You know, I'm telling how old I am, but like Wilson mentioned something about we had to read because there was no. You see, we have Google now. Um, it, what we had was Funk and Wagnalls and Webster's.
encyclopedia, the
Yes,
encyclopedia,
and World
thesaurus,
and World Book,
World Britannica.
Britannica. Yes, we had
Yes.
all of those. And
Yes. And your family,
if I look around in some boxes, I still got some of those today.
listen, and your family was considered well to do if you had those in your home. But for some of us, we used to have to go to the library. And
Exactly.
just like he was talking about, those influences, those early influences. One of the things I like to talk to the entrepreneurs about is having that exposure and having that visibility, actually honing in and taking a look around you and seeing, am I surrounded by other entrepreneurs? Do I have those influences around me that are teaching me that I can be more than just an athlete or a musician? I'm a creator. I can create something, or even better, I can find a solution to something, because a lot of businesses were started by finding a solution to something. You find a need and meet it. You find a hurt and heal it. And if
Heal
you
it.
can find a way to capitalize on that, then you can be a successful entrepreneur. But it takes focus. Like you said, it takes you to put your blinders on. It takes you to understand that somebody may say, I have a project due, and somebody might say, come on, let's go play golf. And part of you is thinking, oh, that's some good exercise. I could use some vitamin D. I can use some fresh air, so I'm gonna go ahead and go. But then there's got to be that entrepreneurial side that says, now wait a minute, if I go do this, it's gonna push my project back. And there's only so many times you can push it back before it's forgotten. So talk about the level of focus that it takes for a person to have in order to be successful on their entrepreneurial journey.
Um, in in just about every book we have covered, uh, what's required is laser focus. Just relentless laser focus. Um, being being pictured into what you want to accomplish, and then doing the necessary steps to achieve it. Uh, it's okay to make. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes, um, because those are your learning classrooms to grow. And um, just having uh, developing your creative mind. And the only way you can develop your creative mind is looking at the mindset and the places of others who are successful, and as it first came along, emulate that.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so now we're talking about a process of duplication. Um,
Hmm.
so and all these things fit into our business model, as I notice you are well aware. And
Yes,
so
I
that's
am.
what we do.
We have
And
another
that's
another person that just popped up, another guest who is also in our business, Miss Virginia Beard. I'm gonna bring her onto the studio because I know she understands just what we were. What I know she understands what this conversation is all about. Ain't that right, Miss Virginia?
Oh, yes, definitely. How you guys doing this evening?
Hi,
We are
Virginia.
doing just fine. It's so nice to see you again. So,
Oh, I'm so sorry that I had a problem getting in.
oh no, it's
Mm.
okay. We had a young man before you. He just left, so I really
Okay,
was hoping that you guys were on at the same time because he's what was it? Prime time. Let me see. The name of
Prime
his business was
Primetime
uh,
Capital Investments.
Prime Time Capital Ventures LLC was the name of
okay,
his business, and he helps people get funding. And that made me think about you and your business. So I'm gonna be quiet and I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're tuning in from, and what it is that you do for a living.
okay. My name is Virginia Beard. I go as Miss V Voice, and I am tuning in from Atlanta, Georgia. And basically, what I do is I help people discover their voice. The people that silent live in silence. And let them be aware of themselves, trying to take care of themselves, basically, and that they matter. If you've been married or if you're getting a divorce or if you have any type of problems, I let them know that it's okay to talk about it. You know,
I love
yeah. So
that. I love you.
that's what I do a lot of, and I have my traveling business also. And I usually use it to travel more than actually sell the product. But I'm working on that also a little bit more. So.
It's all, I love it. I love it. So, how did you get started on your entrepreneurial journey? What made you want to be an entrepreneur? I mean, you could just be a, you could just go to work, work a 9 to 5, and just be like everybody else. What made you want to be different?
Uh, what made me want to be different is once I had a divorce after 33 years, I decided that once COVID happened and I was always in the house and always, taking care of others. We had a daycare. We had two kids. I had my nephew also that we took care of ever since he was 9. He's 35 now. But I always was taking care of everyone else. So once the divorce happened, I realized that I wanted to do more besides sitting in a building taking care of everyone else, and not seeing the outside world. And so that's what made me become an entrepreneur, just to find myself. I just felt like I didn't know myself. I knew everybody else's business. I knew about everybody else's problems. I can fix it. You could be a stranger and I'm trying to help you. So I was just ready to, find out what Virginia likes to do. And it was not about what my mom, my sister, my brother, was not about everybody else anymore. Because all I knew was being a wife and a mother and helping others. So I had the opportunity to, that's what made me not want to work anymore for anyone else or be stuck in a building. I wanted to talk to women just like myself, find people like myself, not, don't travel, don't do anything, just stay home and take care of the family, and take care of everybody else. So I wanted to find myself, you know.
That sounds
So that's what
amazing.
made
I'm
me,
glad.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you had that experience. Richard, do you have any questions for Miss Virginia? I know we're all in the travel space. Um,
Yeah.
and Teletravel is our host agency, and I do want to get into that a little bit. But if you have any questions, just let me know. Stop me
Okay.
whenever you decide to, Richard. Let me know. I don't want to hog the whole interview. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
You know
no,
I
yeah. Well, in getting started, it seems like you handle a cross section of personalities. Um,
Right.
uh, what's been your most what's been your most and your least challenging ones of those?
Um, my challenges are I still have a problem with helping people. I I feel like if someone asks me for 100, I need to give them 50, but I'm still that person. Like, okay, you need that 100, I'm gonna give you that 100. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
I'm trying to find a balance. So that's one of my problems there. And but I'm starting to be more aware of taking care of Virginia. If that is that a real good decision to give the whole thing or give anything. Maybe I need to just give a blessing, or maybe I need to offer a job. Like, hey, I know some people that can get you a job, or maybe, whatever their situation is, instead of just taking care of the problem for them. Because if I take care of it, they're not going to even know how to handle it next month. If they're having the problem now, well, they're going to still have that same problem next month. So we need to
right.
eliminate the problem, period, by finding a solution together. And I'm that person always want to find the solution by myself with no help, so that's what I've learned also, because people are going to allow you to do as much as you want to do,
They
you know.
really are. They
Yeah,
really
so
are.
that's what
They
I've
don't. They're
learned.
not going to be too quick to say no. One of the things
No,
I learned in the last couple of years is people will buy everything that they want and then go and beg for what they need and expect
exactly,
somebody else to give it to them.
exactly. And they don't mind putting you in a hole long as they're out of their hole.
Right. Because if
Mhm.
you're going to put yourself in a hole to help them out, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
Right, right. So that's what I've learned. It was a hard lesson, Like I said, I'm a natural person of giving. I always give. It's just a part of me. I don't know why, but that's just something. I love to see people happy. I love to see people smile. And if it's gonna help them, if I, help them out of whatever situation they're in, And then I noticed one thing is when I help them, they're so happy and they're so excited. But when it's time to give back or the following week, I'm like, okay, your daycare is due. Remember, you say you're gonna double up. You know,
Hmm.
don't show up. You know, or they'll send somebody else to drop the kid off. Like,
Hmm.
like that's gonna, and then I feel guilty because the person I need to talk to is the parent, but they sent someone else, and that person's like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know. So yeah, that's basically it.
That
Yeah.
was a good question, Richard. I'm glad you brought it up because sometimes we do, we are guilty on this show of only talking about the good stuff. So that was a
Hmm.
good question. Did you have something to follow it up before I go on to the next thing?
No, not really, because she pretty much covered everything that she does, and I just see if just knowing that she has the correlation, and now she sees herself. She's a giver, um,
Mhm.
and that's rare, or I would say rare to consistent. I would say because at some point we're all givers,
Right.
um, and but there are those givers that will do the extra mile and will always be in that what I call that lonely space. Uh,
Hmm.
After you've done all the help, then when you look around, who's helping you or who's there to help you? So,
Right.
but yeah,
Aren't that
so
also? Yeah.
so I get it, I see it. Um, uh, but I that's we've covered that. She's covered everything.
That's
Okay.
why I
So
decided to be on my team now.
Uh
And
huh.
I still help other people to a certain extent if I feel like I really I ask more questions. I used to just be like, "Oh, here, take care where you need." But once I start asking more questions, and then they're like, you don't need it. You can't even answer the question. That means you're
Hmm.
lying."
yes, one of my big lessons coming out. One of my big lessons coming out of 2025 is no is a complete sentence.
Yeah,
No
so
is
that's
a complete sentence because there are, when you think about it, especially as entrepreneurs, there have been so many times where you have had to figure it out. There was no
right.
help other than from above, right? There was no help other than from
Mhm.
within. So you
That's
had to figure it out. And I think that in doing that, we exercised a particular muscle that built our fortitude and it built our resilience, right?
right.
And so I
Right.
think sometimes when we give to people without letting them build those same muscles, it is not
Exactly.
up to us to save them. We have to let them rely on the same strength and inner peace and inner being that saved us. That way they learn how to depend on that. You know what I mean? Like that's
Right.
huge. So before you were an entrepreneur, what did you do for work?
I was the area manager, and
Mhm.
I had like 7 stores that I traveled back and forth to. I actually worked in the Mall of Georgia. That was my main store. Um, at Aunt Annie's Pretzel.
Okay.
I don't know if you know
Okay.
that. Yeah, so that's where.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
heard that.
Mhm.
yeah. So it's safe to say that you were successful at Auntie Anne's, right?
I was.
So
Mhm.
what
I was.
skill set what skill sets did you bring with you from that position into entrepreneurship? How did you pivot
Um,
from being an employee and saying, you know what, I'm going to be an entrepreneur? And what skill sets helped you the most in on your entrepreneurial journey?
I would say I'm like I said, I am a caring person. So even being in management, I was the same way. I would try to help people. Um, the kids that someone would never hire, I would give people a chance. If they had some type of disability or whatever, I would hire them still. I was that type of person. I want the person to win that no one's the person I want the person to win that everyone said this will never win or
That
would
you
never
do.
do the
Right.
job. That's the type of
Root for
person
the
I am.
underdog.
I am the underdog. Exactly. If you're having a hard time, I'm there for you. I'm there to shove you on and tell you like you can do it. You're gonna make it. Whatever they
Hmm.
told you is a lie. It's you. You're the most important person here. So, that's how I am. One parent
I
told me
love
her
it.
daughter, yeah, her daughter was in school and for nursing, and she quit. And her mom gave me a call. She's like, Miss V, I know you're the only person that can talk some sense into my daughter. She listens to you. She loves your spaghettis. They I used to cook for the kids also. So they thought I was like their second mom. So her mom's like, can you talk to her for me? She's having a rough time. So, I talked to her and she was telling me like, hey, between the job and going to school and everything else she had going on, that it's just too much. And I said, well, how about if we work together? I said, the days that, you go to school or you have a problem, I'll work for you. She's like, Miss B, no. I said, yes, I'll work for you. And I said, in the hours that you're missing, those those hours you would have to come on the week because she was off on the weekends. So you gotta have to put some skin in. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have to give up something. So I worked for her and she graduated and now she's a nurse, basically the end of the story. She ended up being a nurse. She had quit in her second year. I worked with her. She called the last minute, Miss V, I got this test. I would come in, I was off or I had just left or I may haven't left yet. I would just do a double just so she can go to school or just so she can study. And I worked with her. One day we need to put her on also. And I worked with her
Yes.
until she got her degree. And she's like, and her mom's like, I can't believe you did all that. And it was so funny. Her brother came and I did the same thing for him. And because he was going to
Amazing.
school. Yeah. So it's like, oh, you should work for Miss V. She'll work with your schedule. So it was this thing with the kids. They were like, you should work for Auntie Anne's. They work with you. Because I told them, we don't expect you to be here forever. This is a temporary
Right.
stop for you. A temporary
Right.
stop. And I'll work with you. You don't have to call in with Miss V. That's what they call me. I said, you don't have to call in with Miss V because I'm cheering you on. I want you to go to college. I want you to be successful. I don't want you to stay here at the pretzel place because I'm gonna leave one day too. That's what I tell them. They be laughing at me. But I was
That's
there for
one thing.
16 years. Yeah, I was there for
Nice.
16 years.
That's one thing about this business that we all share. Just to be clear, we're talking about, two businesses. One business, you can own your own travel business. You can book travel for yourself. You can book travel for others. You can earn a
Mhm.
commission on all of those trips. And then the other side of the business is the marketing business where you can build a team of like-minded people and grow residual and leveraged income and using the power of duplication, right? So
Yes.
let's talk about your experience with, I know Richard has some stories about, things that he's booked, but I know we tell people that we help you design your ideal life by tapping into the world of e-commerce, building a network of like-minded people and earning lucrative travel commissions. Has this been your experience, or are you one of those like me? I'm my best customer.
I'm my best
Mm.
customer. And what's so funny is I actually joined at the time once I had my divorce. So I really was joining just so I could travel and have friends, to be honest with you. I wasn't really into like trying to get anybody to sign up. I was into the business. It's like, hey, where are we going? So, and then as I did that, my coach, she was like, Virginia, when are you going to start? You've been here for about 6, 7 months, the whole thing is to make money. So that's when I start talking to people, trying to get them to join. And I had several people come, but once they came, I had a couple of people sign up also. So I think they still signed up actually.
Yeah, the funny thing about it, I was having this conversation, I want to say it was yesterday, and we were talking about that. Like you see something and it's like a shiny new object, but it makes sense, right? You can wrap your mind around it. You can wrap
Right,
your mind around it and you say,
Mhm.
you know what, I could do this. This makes sense to me. And then you go and
right.
you want to tell the world about it. Bridget, how was it for you when you first saw this opportunity? Did it just make sense right off the bat?
With me, yes, it did. Um, once I heard the presentation for the first time, I'm like, this connects. It was like connecting the dots. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
this connects to this. This connects to this. This is this, which connected to this, which connected to the beginning. Okay,
Mhm.
this is it. This is what this is what we got to do. Now, I didn't get to really experience that until when I first joined. I didn't go to, I'll say, my inaugural convention my
Mhm.
first year. I went the second year,
Mhm.
and things started, folding together, and then seeing the lives of people being changed, the lives of people moving forward. Um,
Mm-hmm.
did that. Um, like you, Virginia, I had my own setbacks, and yes, in business you do have setbacks. Uh, did it affect me? Yes, because I was doing this for the first time, um, and it kind of rolled over on me. But I've learned and I've recovered, and rolling back now.
I was going
So
to say you still here.
I'm still
Yeah.
here, right? Oh, and as far as that's concerned, let me say this. Let me say this real. I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Amen.
I
Amen.
I am not going.
Amen.
I am not going nowhere. Um,
I love it. I
and,
love it. So
and
let's
that's
talk about. Oh, I'm sorry.
and that's where you roll into. I believe I'm developing my relentlessness.
Yes.
I was so you know what? We are so in tune and be on the same page because you notice exactly where I go. The last
Uh-huh.
5 minutes, we always talk about what are you reading? Let's give our
Uh-huh.
listeners a recommendation. Right now, I already know I'm putting yours in the chat, Richard. You are
Uh-huh.
reading Relentless by Tim Grover.
Hmm.
Miss Virginia, what are you reading?
My own book.
Your own book. Okay. Is that the
Okay.
wisdom book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, give me the title. I saw that earlier. What's the title of it?
Uh, the wisdom that we. Oh, I forgot that quick.
The wisdom.
That's
I
terrible.
just saw it
Mhm.
earlier.
You said it was it the wisdom we carry?
Yeah, the wisdom we carry. That's what it is. Our
The
brain freeze.
wisdom we
That's what it's
carry.
called.
Give
Wisdom we carry.
us a summary, Miss Virginia.
Uh, Basically, it's about life experiences that we all have had, and we're just expressing them and letting everyone know that there is the end of the tunnel. Basically, you know, you may go
There is
through
light at the
something
end of the
one day.
tunnel.
Yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel. So that's basically what we're sharing our life experiences that we have had, and we actually came to a solution, and so that's basically what it is. And we're
I
just trying to
love
share
it.
with everyone else about it. That there's life at the end of the tunnel,
We're gonna have
basically.
to
Yeah.
do a segment where we just talk about the book.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have
Yeah.
you read we have you read some excerpts from the book.
Yeah, that would be nice. They're gonna
That'd be
love it.
real nice.
It's only
Yeah.
it's
So
only not it's only 99 cents for the ebook if you guys want to get
okay.
one. And yeah,
Absolutely. I will
you'll
Awesome.
love it.
definitely click on the link.
Yeah, you guys will love it, and plus you'll help us
Let me
share
see
with
if
a
I can
lot of
go
other
get the
people.
link. Let
Yeah,
me
it's
see.
really it's really
Y'all keep talking. I'm gonna see if I can go find the link
it's
and put it
really
on here.
inspirational. Different people have different situations. Everybody has a story, and basically we're trying to bring everybody, letting everybody know there's everyone has a story, and somebody needs to hear it because somebody needs to be healed. Because I may have a story uh for 10 other people, that's reading the book, but the other 30 or 40 people, once they read somebody else's chapter, that's what that's what motivated them, that's what healed them. So I don't have a story for everybody. My story is not going to heal everyone. That's why there's multiple writers in the book, because there's a story for everybody to listen to, and there's a story for everybody to be healed, and we're trying to bring out their story. We're trying to have a safe space for them to want to bring their story to the book, because we're going to have other books that's going to come out, and we're trying to bring other authors, and people don't realize that they are authors because everybody has a story. But a lot of people don't want to share their story because they're like, oh, nobody wants to hear my story. It's just terrible or whatever. But you're still here. So that means you had a solution, and that means somebody else needs to hear it. You can save somebody else's life just by sharing your
Sure.
story, just by
Absolutely.
sharing your story. And then they're like, man, my story is not that bad after all. Your story was worse than mine, and you're still here.
Hmm.
Like one time I told someone, this gentleman, he asked me for some, he's like, hey, you got any money or anything? I was going into QT. And I said, well, you can come inside and get something if you like. And so he was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. So he came in, he got some stuff. And then when he came back out, I saw his dog. So I went and got his dog some food. So, and then after I did that, I went back to the car. So he didn't know that, I was sleeping in my car, you know, he didn't know that. So when I went to the car and I got some clothes out of the car, he was like, are you homeless too? I was like, yeah, I am. And he was like, oh my God, and you helped me. And he is like, I was like, you just never know no one's story. And I was talking to him and he was like, what happened? I said, well, when I moved out of my house, I was going to get an apartment, but my daughter was having problems because she was in college and she had an apartment and her friend wasn't paying her rent. So I helped my daughter because she was needing help in her apartment. So I'm not going to tell my daughter, to be driving back and forth, to the house, which she was downtown in Spelman, and she had an apartment there. So instead of me paying, getting me myself something, she only had a few more months before she was gonna graduate and everything. So I didn't want to have no problems. And me and my ex weren't talking like that, so I wasn't gonna say anything to him. So I was just taking money and paying for her apartment. And so I decided I was gonna stay in my car. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell anyone. So I would just go around to different QTs and stay in my car. And I had clothes. I went to the laundromat. I stayed clean and all that stuff. I went to truck stops and took showers and stuff. And the guy was looking at me. He was like, damn, you look good to be saying you homeless. I said, you know what? Everybody has a story. And you'll do what you have to do to survive. And I was not gonna dare let my daughter lose her apartment, you know. So I made a sacrifice. But at the end of the tunnel, of course, my ex found out and and he started paying for the apartment. So look at
Amazing
God.
story.
I went and got my apartment. So, but I did that
Yeah.
probably about 3 or 4 months. I stayed in my car. I went to, you know, and I don't even know how he found out, but I think my mom called me one day and I just start talking to her about something and somehow she figured out. She's like, are you staying outside? You can come home. You can come stay with me. I was like, no, I don't want to stay with anybody. I'm good right out here, because how when you stay with people, I just prefer to stay by myself.
Right, 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 right. I
Yeah,
love I love the story. I love the wisdom we
yeah,
carry, the title of the book. We
right.
are
So there's so
flat
many
out.
stories.
Yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
are flat out at the top of the hour. We got started at 8. It's 9:03. So I
Hmm.
appreciate the overtime. Yeah, we did a whole hour, y'all. But Miss Virginia, we have to come, we
Wow.
have to have you back
You have to come
on.
back.
Yeah, so we
Okay.
can talk about the book, and you can bring the young lady that you helped get through nursing school. There's so many. Like I told the young man, Wilson Flimmerston, that was on. I think I said his name correctly.
You
Go
did.
up here and look. Flimmerston. I got it right. Look at that. Um, and when we're talking that, and it's like we have to normalize having money making conversations and hearing a
Mhm.
story like the one you just told where people don't realize that you yourself was without walls. I don't like to use the word homeless, but it's like,
Right.
just without walls. um
Right.
no, why people think they can keep calling. So
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
we go,
but you never
we gonna
know.
hang
Everybody,
up.
like I said, everybody has a story. Everybody just looks
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
people naturally and say, "Man, they're just all together," or they got all this stuff. And God always provides a way. And a lot of people say, "You wasn't scared." I said, "Scared of what?"
Yeah.
You know,
We're all we're
scared of
all
what?
so- we're all someone's champion when you look
Exactly.
at it.
And we
Yes,
have
exactly.
no
Somewhere.
idea.
In
Yep,
in
Yeah.
in
capitalize.
in in your story, Virginia, in your story, Christine, in my story, Richard, we're all someone's champion somewhere. We don't
Mhm.
know where, but
Right.
we're there. We've experienced things, and we've. I like the title of your book, "The Wisdom We Carry." When I
Mhm.
saw it, I was like, wow. It said the wisdom we carry. We're always talking about having wisdom, praying for
Right.
wisdom, getting wisdom. But what about what we have? We're already carrying
Right,
it. It's
right.
already
And a
there.
lot of times, one of my favorite sermons TD Jakes ever did was "It's Already in Your Hand," and he talked about
Hmm.
stories from the Bible where everything that you need is already in your hand. Moses was holding the rod, right? And he used that rod to part the Red Sea, and he pointed at the burning bush. Or he pointed the rod and the bush started burning. Like God gives you everything you need. It's already in you. It's already in your hand. And as long as you are willing to be that person to share it and help other people, and that's what we're
Right.
doing here with Cash Flow Conversation, guys. We're, in closing, I just want to say that we appreciate everyone that's a part of the group, the Cash Flow Conversations chat. We appreciate you guys for scheduling yourselves. I did have a
Yes.
young man click on the link and he scheduled himself for tonight. Just so happened he's on the road right now, so we look forward to having him on in a couple of weeks. But just being so willing to come and share your stories. Like you said, Miss Virginia, everybody has a story, and you never know who can benefit from hearing your story. I too was without walls for a while, for almost a year, and God always provides. So we want to bless you on your entrepreneurial journey. We look forward to having you here. A couple of announcements. My health and wellness business, the Healthy Effective Alternatives to Live, will be debuting. The Heal Wellness Collective will be debuting at the Atlanta Black Expo. Get your
Yay!
tickets early. Yes, use the code at checkout HEAL. Get your tickets at the AtlantaBlackExpo.com. Use code HEAL for $5 off.
Okay.
$5 off. And come check us out. Come check us out. And they
I'll be
also still have,
there when she send it in the
yes,
link.
yes, I will definitely add it to the group. We have, they still have vendor tables available. You can let them know I referred you. We will see you guys in 2 weeks. Cash Flow
Okay.
Conversations will be back. What is that? February 2nd. Let me look at the
February
calendar.
2nd.
February 2nd. February 2nd. Thank you. That's why you the co-host, right? February 2nd, 8 p.m. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to Cash Flow Conversations.
Thanks for tuning in.